Robert Bender of Escambia County Commission, Chief Deputy Simmons, Chip Simmons, with Escambia County Sheriff's Department, City of Pensacola Mayor Grover Robinson. As you all know, we are keeping a very close eye on what we call Hurricane Delta now, and we have done a local state of emergency which started at 8 a.m. today. Each of these will have something different to share with you. One of the things that I wanted to share with you to begin with is to discuss debris. I know that it's on everyone's minds. I know that you're all very concerned about the debris, but I did want to share with you that we have picked up over 1 million cubic yards in just 2 weeks, the debris that we have managed in Escambia County. And as we told you to begin with, it's going to be about a 90-day time frame in which to get the debris that we had that have as an impact from Hurricane Sally. We are trying to make sure that we do extra management currently of the low-lying areas, the barrier islands, those areas that may be prone to storm surge should this storm come closer to our shores than we would like. So I just will mention, please continue to have patience. If you don't have to be on those roads, like I said, that are either the barrier islands or those areas around Gulf Beach Highway, those around Bayshore and other places where we do know that there is storm surge, please try not to be out there. It will help our crews be able to manage that debris hauling. The other thing is we do still have numerous places in which residents can drop off their debris. Those are open. They're open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. We have Lexington Terrace. We have opened the Brent Athletic Park as an option for you. We have the Oak Grove Landfill in the north end, John R. Jones off of 9 Mile Road, the Equestrian Center off of the west side of 9 Mile Road, and we have Bars Field, and then on Pensacola Beach we have Park East on Pensacola Beach. We have very thankfully been allowed to have law enforcement, our Escambia County Sheriff's Office, on occasion be able to help us with management and the flagging and the traffic. So if you see these deputies, first of all, thank them for their extra support, but please pay attention and heed their cautions as we are trying to get these trucks through our communities. We will still continue to pick up throughout the county. We will be providing maps for the public so that the public can see each day where we have been picking up, and we also have maps that will show you cumulative where we have been picking up throughout the county. Because we do want to make sure that everyone knows that we are definitely touching all 626 square miles of Escambia County as we are doing debris pickup. So just be aware that it will take a time for us to get all this debris picked up, but we do continue to appreciate your patience. And also, please make sure that when you are putting your debris by the road, that you follow the rules that we've asked you to follow, which is separate it out. Because if a hauler comes to your area and they see vegetative debris commingled with construction debris or tin sheds or aluminum or things like that, they are not able to pick that up. It has to be separated out. So please be aware of that. We've also mentioned before, they may pick up vegetation, they may leave tree stumps. That's a different type of equipment that's used to pick up those tree stumps. And then as we've mentioned, there's the construction debris, which is a completely different type of pickup. So please, like I said, please be patient and continue to monitor how you manage your debris. If you're able and you are can help your neighbors, please try and help your neighbors. If you have a truck or if you have a trailer or something like that, I've been made aware of several instances where people are going throughout their neighborhoods and they are helping their neighborhood clear that debris. That would be great, and we would love to hear those stories from your neighbors. But if you can do that, please help them. This is a time when we can all pitch in and help each other, especially with the potential of an impending storm. Lastly, we do have 211, which is still available for you to continue to call with United Way, and then the county also has their citizens line. We will continue to update our Be Ready Escambia, Facebook and Twitter, and then we also have the myescambia.com Storm Center, which we are continuing to provide updates there as well. So at this time, I'd like to ask Eric Gilmore to come forward and give you some more information about the weather.
Good morning. Eric Gilmore, Escambia County Emergency Manager. I just want to brief you on what protective actions Escambia County is taking at this time in anticipation of a possible landfall here in Escambia County. Yesterday morning, we met with our community partners, and we're starting to pre-plan our shelters our evacuations, our evacuation routes. And we're taking this as we're going to get impacted, that we're going to have a landfall here in Escambia County. So we want to scale up as much as we can to be prepared ahead of the storm, and we'll scale back as needed. So as it sits right now, the hurricane's anticipated to make landfall in Louisiana around Friday night, Saturday morning. As we all know, Sally was supposed to hit somewhere in Louisiana as well, so we're taking our precautions. We ask that you do the same as well. And I have noticed out throughout town, a lot of you are getting gas, getting your generators ready, getting your water and your provisions, and I appreciate that. Take this time right now to prepare. It's always best for you to scale up as well, and then we can scale back as needed if we don't get impacted. We will be updating throughout the week on our protective measures. If we do have to open shelters up, we'll definitely let you know where they are. They've been pre-identified. We have our staffing. We're working with Red Cross, the school district, our community partners to make sure that we have those things ready to go. And as needed, if we need to turn those things on, they will be ready and available for you. I do ask that you still watch. We still preach to 3, know your zone. When we give the evacuation order for a zone, know what zone you're in, if you're A, B, C, D, or E. This thing's supposed to be a matter of fact, just a while ago it was announced it is a Category 3 at this time, at the 10 o'clock advisory. It is a Cat 3. It is anticipated to downgrade before it makes landfall, but please don't plan on that happening. Just plan as a major hurricane coming into our area. That way you're the best prepared. Know your zone, first and foremost. Second, know your home. We have had Sally come to the area. We got a lot of damaged trees. We got a lot of leaning trees. We have broken tops out of trees. We have limbs. Look around your home, see what's around your home, see what's potential to fall into your home. If we get strong gusts, even if we don't get the brunt of a hurricane making landfall in Escambia County, we are still susceptible to tropical storm force winds. So we still could see some winds that could cause the trees to finish falling over, or the limbs to break out and fall on your house. So please take note and inventory what's around your home right now. And lastly, know your plan. Have your plan ready today. Tomorrow at the latest, have a plan. Are you going to evacuate? Are you going to leave the area? Are you going to go stay with a friend, a relative? Please have your plan ready to go by at the latest tomorrow. As I said, we've got plenty of time right now, and I see a lot of you are taking this serious and doing your pre-action plans, and we appreciate that. We want you to be as prepared as possible. We're going to be as prepared as possible. As I said, we're planning for a landfall here, even though it's identified as Louisiana landfall. But please take those actions now. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Bender.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. I understand our community is still recovering from Hurricane Sally, so this is a lot for us to go through just a few weeks after that, as we are still in the recovery process. But with the cone of uncertainty being so large right now, we are having to take these precautions and asking you to do the same. Of course, we have seen the gas lines and people getting gas, so that's good to see you all taking this seriously as well. As Eric mentioned, all year long we've been saying know your zone. So when that evacuation order does go out, know your home. How did it sustain in Hurricane Sally? What does it look like around the home? So you may have been there for Hurricane Sally. And of course, we're expecting probably a greater need for shelter should they need to be opened, and are planning for that. And then know your plan. The shelters are hopefully a last resort. If you can go stay with friends, family, somewhere else, do that. But also know your evacuation route. Of course, with the 3 Mile Bridge being out, you have the Garcon Point. We've seen the traffic with there. Highway 87 may be a better route without having to go across a bridge, but also make sure you leave enough time to make that journey safely when you need to. In regard to the Bob Sykes Bridge, the contractor is moving ahead of schedule on that. We expect to have 1 southbound lane open tomorrow on Wednesday, and then also the northbound lanes would remain open. And then there may be some intermittent lane closures, but we do expect it to remain open. In terms of the debris, again, we are working hard to get that cleared. We've gone into some areas that we were thinking we'd have to wait on FEMA approval, but we realized the importance of trying to get that out ahead of a storm, and we're doing that. And then ultimately, just stay tuned to the weather and the media to hear what's going on. We want to make sure that everyone stays informed, and as everyone's saying, we are taking the proper precautions to make sure that we're prepared and you're prepared as well. And now I'd like to turn it over to the City of Pensacola Mayor Grover Robinson.
Robert, thank you very much. I think what Mr. Gilmore said is the main thing that we want to take away from today. You need to be preparing. The city and the county are both preparing for essentially a Category 2 hurricane at this particular time. We may not get that, but at this particular time, we believe we are preparing for that, and you should prepare for that. One way or the other, we're going to end up most than likely on the right side, which means we're going to get significant onshore wind flow and rain. Our probability of tropical storm force winds is already like 50%, so we are going to see some wind in this event. I can't tell you exactly the degree, but I can tell you need to be planning for something similar to Sally. So at this particular time, we want you to be doing that. As debris, as far as that goes within the city at this particular time, we have about 196,000 cubic yards collected of our 275,000. We will be doing as much as we can, working as, I think, hearing what Mr. Gilmore said about the timing, we hope maybe we can still work on Friday. I don't know, but we'll certainly work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and hopefully some on Friday collecting. We will collect as much as we can at this particular time, and I appreciate many of you sending emails to us and letting us know. We're trying to get everybody collected. We are working in all 7 districts. There is the possibility, though, that we may not be able to get to some areas. At this point, we're trying to do everything we can. If we get to Friday and there's need to secure some of your things, you may need to work with that on if we haven't had a chance to come by and pick you up. My bigger concern are things like fences that people have left outside. Those are things that can become a sale. While certainly leaves and small branches can fly around, they're unlikely to do as much damage as a fence. So again, I think you need to prioritize what's still out there if we are unable to pick it up, and try to secure those things in the best manner that you can. At this point, I would be thinking about that first 72 is on you, making sure you have enough water and enough resources, just like we dealt with in Sally. So at this point, we do want you to make sure you have the provisions, and those provisions are certainly non-perishable because it is likely we could lose power again. But we've been through this once before. We will get through this, and we'll come out of this, and we'll be collecting back up as soon as possible. But at this particular time, we ask that you do that. And finally, I will say right before I came here, I know that Keith Wilkins, our city administrator, was on the phone with Skanska. They are moving to secure all their stuff, get their barges put in the right places. The barges they cannot collect, they are working on securing those. We have multiple barges on Bayfront Parkway. They communicated to us how they were planning to anchor those barges and make sure that they do not go further inland. Hopefully they come back in the water possibly, but again, the main part we want to make sure is that they're properly securing all of their barges, and they told us today in communications with them that they are. So again, that's where we stand at this particular time, and I'm going to turn things over right now to Chief Deputy Chip Simmons.
Thank you. I think that the unifying message here is that there's a lot of uncertainty, and we need to be prepared. So if you're going to be prepared, then we want to make sure we remind you the first 72 is on you. That means for 3 days you need to be self-sufficient. That's the only way that we can be sure that that you are prepared. And I would say that the sheriff's office, we had some conversations this morning. We're prepared to go to emergency operations. We're like everywhere else. We're waiting to see where this thing goes. There's going to come a time when we have to decide: do we go to emergency operations? Do we go to a situation where we have all the manpower that we can muster out on the field? I will tell you that if you're in a low-lying area or you're trying to determine whether you are going to evacuate, should that evacuation order come, I would like you to consider what happened during Hurricane Sally. I was in our dispatch and I just got the information. For that 12-hour period, we had over 800 calls, 800 911 calls to people who thought they could ride this thing out, who thought that the storm was going somewhere else. 800 times our dispatcher had to say, "I'm sorry, the road's closed. I'm sorry, there's trees over there. I'm sorry, we do not have a sheriff's deputy, or we do not have a response team that can come and help you." 800 times. So if you're trying to determine whether you should evacuate, keep this in mind, not just your own experience, not just where your house lies and the vulnerability that you have in your own home, but also consider the fact that there's going to come a time when someone calls 911 and we just can't respond. Now, we put the name down, we get there as soon as we can, but who wants to be in a situation where you're so afraid, so scared, so concerned that you call 911, and the only thing you get on their side is, I'm sorry, we'll get there when we can. When we clear this debris, when we clear these roadways, when the water recedes, that's not the information that you want to hear from a dispatch. Unfortunately, that's the reality. So I would just join in my colleagues here and making sure we understand, while there is a lot of uncertainty, all it takes is one little jog, as we know from Hurricane Sally. We do not need to get caught off guard on this particular storm. So take the appropriate cautions, pay attention to what's going on. Thank you.
So before we take questions, I did want to mention one other thing. So FEMA has reported that they've taken over 9,632 applications for assistance from our community. So we want to continue to recognize the fact that many of you are still hurting and you're still looking for support and services. And so FEMA is taking those applications. I have been able to visit the Southwest Library FEMA site, and it is very, very busy. I know that they are taking appointments from you all that may not have internet and some electronic communication yet, and so I know that those are a couple of hour waits. However, they are taking your names and numbers and letting you come back. Stefani Road is also very busy, and I'll be visiting Brownsville after this meeting. So we just want to make sure that we reiterate that we know that you're still hurting, but we know that help is here to kind of help get you back to where you need to be. FEMA will let us know if, because of weather conditions, they have to close their units. They have not mentioned that at all to us yet, so I would say continue to go visit those sites and continue to apply either online or with your app. So with that, we'll be more than happy to take questions.
In regards to evacuations, could you kind of talk me through that a bit? Like, obviously, with the 3 Mile Bridge being down, like, it's going to be more traffic coming from Gulf Breeze, Pensacola Beach. And then I think the concern is that with Hurricane Sally, there's more people in hotels, whether they were displaced or, they're volunteers from out of town. So you can't, if they're trying to stay close in this situation, it might not be possible. So could you all kind of walk through if you can be more aggressive?
Yeah, and I'm going to have Eric speak to that, but I did want to remind folks, those of us that have lived here a long time, many of us remember Aaron and Opal, right? We had, within a couple of months, we had 2 hurricanes, and we all know what happened when Opal came. There were many folks that were left stuck in their vehicles on the roads when we had the storm hit, so we do not want to be in that situation. We've had those conversations here starting, yesterday and previously, so that Eric and his team are making a plan to make sure that we don't have that. So we definitely want to mention that so that folks are new to our community. They can look it up and see what happened, and they can definitely heed whenever Eric and them start issuing those orders, okay?
So good question. We look at we draw a time decision arc around our area, based on the population size and what zones we're asking to evacuate. And from there, we come up with a time frame that'll get enough time leeway for people to get out. Right now, we're looking at a 16-hour window prior to landfall. So we're looking at 16 hours. If we have to pull the trigger, it'll be 16 hours prior to landfall to notify people that they need to evacuate the area, taking consideration the limitation of bridges and the amount of people in hotels and everything on the beaches. So we're looking at 16 hours right now is what our decision time arc is.
Eric, I would also say what we said before. While we will have shelters open, at the end of the day, even with COVID, everybody can't go to a shelter. I would think about family and friends that you have that are in a high area that you can go to and you can go visit. I would highly encourage you to think about that right now. And I would highly encourage those of you who live in higher areas to think about your friends who live in lower areas and find a way to offer assistance to them. I think that would be a better way for us to work and keep you close in to where you are, but at the same time be able to make sure that those shelters are available for those that don't have family or friends or someone they can go to. So if you have family and friends that you can go to and visit, please do that. And if you have a house that you can house somebody, I would ask that you please look to work with your friends that you know are in low-lying areas and offer the opportunity for them to come stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just want to add one thing. Starting yesterday, we did start putting an emphasis on clearing storm drains. I believe the city of Pensacola is doing the same. But I do ask that if you have a storm drain near your house that is clogged, if you're able to help us out, of course, we have over 600 miles that we're trying to get to in Escambia County. But again, this will just assist with any rainfall that we may get and prevent it from backing up. We are trying to do that, but of course they've been out trying to help clear the other bigger debris that from Sally. So So we are focusing on storm drains, but if anything you can do to, the homeowners can do to help clear some of those areas, that'd be very beneficial as well for us, but also for you and your neighbors. Thank you.
I believe you guys addressed debris at length, and that's exactly what we're getting the most questions about. So just because these are kind of things people are asking, and Chief Deputy Simmons mentioned once everything moves through, they may need to access the major roadways, get out to people. Is any prioritization being given to the larger construction debris that might do more damage if it blows around? Is any prioritization being given to major roadways for access? I mean, I know we can't get it all, and I know you guys are doing your best, but to answer people's questions most effectively, what will we tell them about that?
Yeah, so what I would say is, so this morning they started on Scenic Highway, which was, we had already had an accident or some damage done by vehicles because it was so close to the roadway there. And so they were able to start that. I know that was probably an issue for commuters this morning coming in from Santa Rosa County, and I'm sorry about that, but we have to get these roadways done, like that one particularly now. As I mentioned, we are kind of focusing on the storm areas, the places where you would have storm surge, the places, the barrier islands and things like that at this point. But there is, I mean, I drove a lot of miles yesterday to check on a lot of our different hauling areas, debris hauling areas, and they are everywhere. I mean, the crews are everywhere, and it's a big testimony to the fact that we've collected over 1 million cubic yards in Escambia County, and I think that's 154 football fields, just from a graphic perspective, 3 feet high. So this is a pretty substantial amount of debris that's already been collected. We are trying to make sure that major roadways are, passable, of course. That's the best way for us to get help to you and for you to be able to evacuate. But we said this 2 weeks ago, debris is going to be a big issue, and it's going to be with us for a while. And I do know that those crews are out working hard. We have actually looked to make our landfill open as early as 4 a.m. So if they want to collect some a little bit early in the early hours, that will help them not get caught up in traffic. And then also have our landfill stay open until after about 8 o'clock at night, so that they can then also let the commuters and everyone get home, and then they can also then get back to the landfill. So we're trying to manage our schedule to allow for more drop-offs and things like that.
Laura, I can say the same thing at the city. I mean, I just want to put it in perspective. 1 million cubic yards is an unbelievable amount that the county's collected. We've collected almost, we're pushing over 50%, but we're only around 200,000 cubic yards of what we've collected. But we have over 60 crews out there working at this particular time. We are working in all 7 districts, so there's not any one area. We believe we will be close to 80% by the time we hit Friday, but at the same time, it's very likely that there may be some people that we just can't get to. I mean, unfortunately, we can't pick up all the garbage at the same time. That just is that's the challenge we have. The prioritization, obviously, we're trying to be more those roads that are more critically traveled in what we do. But at the end of the day, we're trying to get as much as we can. But if we can't get to some things, the things I'm more concerned about, leaves and sticks, you got to rake it up again. It's aggravation. I think the thing we're more worried about is those pieces of large fence, and if you leave in a way that becomes sails and can fly into somebody's house and create damage, those are things we'd rather you figure out a way to at least secure. Hopefully we can get to you by Friday. If we don't get to you by Friday, I think you should start thinking about how you're going to secure those things in some way or another. Some of it may just be putting it face down on your grass, or trying to figure out some other way. So I'm not saying it has to be really scientific how you tie it down, but some other way you need to be thinking about how to prevent air from picking it up and probably throwing it into somebody's house.
Quick follow-up about the evacuation routes. If you live in Pensacola Beach, Gulf Breeze, like are you still, what route should you take? Just Garcon Point?
Garcon Point, that's about your only route at this time, unfortunately. So Garcon Point's going to be, or go down to 87 and come up. So people who live in those areas generally know how to get off the island, but you're very limited right now. So yes, they need to take that into consideration if they plan to evacuate. So part of the planning process, hopefully you had that plan tomorrow, that you identify which route you're going to take. And as Ms. Gilly said, she made a very valid point. During Opal, during 95, we had Aaron hit, and then we had Opal hit on the heels of that, and there a lot of people evacuated. And we did have a lot of people stranded on Highway 29 in congested roads, and we don't want that. So if you plan to do that, please leave early enough that you're not getting congested, that we get everybody safely out of here and to their destination so they're secure, so.
Yeah, and I would just mention, so it does appear, we've seen that the maps goes from Mexico to Tallahassee, right? And I'm not telling you where to go, but what I would say is you might want to consider Jacksonville, because they're not in that cone. Pretty much everything north of us might be, right? So I'm just mentioning that if you're on the beach, you might want to continue to keep going east. That may be an option for you. So that would just be one thing I would consider. So anything else?
Just one more quick question, for areas that we know were hard hit in Sally's, your Bristol Parks, your Forest Creeks, Inner is there anything that can be done to kind of proactively ahead of the storm to kind of, you know, prevent further damage? Like, I don't know if there's much you can do, but anything the county can do or city or advice for those residents?
So I continue to say this is an act of God, so I would say pray. That is one thing I would clearly say, because I think that we all need some protection, particularly the inner area and others like that. That is why we are trying to make sure that we get as much debris off of those areas, because just even a small amount of storm surge in those areas can have a lot of damage in terms of moving that debris around. And then it would be in our waterways, whereas now we currently have it in an area where we might be able to manage it. So,
Kevin, I would simply say, I think we're all advising you to think about a plan to leave, and where you go to. If you're in a place like Inner that's going to flood, start thinking about leaving and where you go.
And to one point, at this time, they're anticipating up to 7 inches in our area, 7 inches of rain, so we're not looking at the massive flooding. Sally was a slow mover, dumped a lot of rain, a lot of moisture on us. This one's going to be moving a little faster. It's got steering currents, so they pretty much have said this is the track due to the steering currents, but it's not going to be a rainmaker like Sally was. So we're looking at up to 7 inches of rain in our area is what they're anticipating, so.
all right. Thank you. Thank you all.